Hello everybody and welcome back to the show. Alright. Yeah. Let's do this. You guys are on the Vesuvius flying with the Stalingrad when you are pulled in for your briefing by the captain of the ship. That's Captain Daxton. To tell you what it is that you're doing and where it is that you're going. What the captain is able to tell you is that so you guys get pulled in there for your briefing and everything. It's not just the three of you that are in there. It's also a few of the other commanding people. But you guys are going to be the dedicated shore party by the request of the Volus themselves. So what he tells you is, all right, everybody. Some of you have already know what it is that we're going to be taking care of you. Some of you have heard rumors or various bits of information. So let me just make this plain and simple so we all know what it is that we're doing, why it is that we're there. Everybody was fully aware, whether if you were on the ship with us beforehand or read the reports before you joined us for this this trip out, because there are new faces on the ship, that of the incident that happened beforehand. Well, fortunately for all of us, while aboard the ship, we had Ward over here did a wonderful job in hacking into their mainframe and finding out a little bit of information, where it was that they were going, how it is that they were getting there, because they actually had a bit of a sleeper virus sitting inside the ship, so that should they not punch in a password every so often, the ship's computers were supposed to wipe out and take away tons of information, tons of data, the information off the database with it. She was able to hack in and acquire information prior to that happening. Most importantly, where it was that they were going. Now, we don't know the exact destination, but we do know for a fact that they were heading through the mass relay over there, over towards the Phoenix massing. Now, in the Phoenix massing, we know that the trajectory that they had plotted was going to get us over to the Typhoon system. The Typhoon system is a bit of an interesting one, has a bit of a history to it. Are any of you familiar with the Typhoon system? And look to you three PCs.
Would that count as general knowledge? And if so, could I roll a lore check to find out?
Yes and yes. And there would be a flat roll, no bonuses or penalties.
Might as well do it.
I assume that's intelligence?
Intelligence, yes, please, and thank you.
Is there any chance that maybe one of us is, like me, has been there?
Looks like you have been there.
Looks
Yeah.
like I have. Who would have thought?
Okay, so Lena is going to have a little bit of a history there, but not because of herself, because she comes from a family of military people, right?
No, my family went military.
Oh, you were the only military person.
But I went straight from school, didn't I, at a very young age.
So then you would have remembered it from the academy. The other two would not have. So that stuck out in your mind for more or less. It was a class called the Successes and Failures of the Alliance Military, or Successes and Failures of Humans of the Expansion. There we go. Successes and Failures of the Great Expanse. So one of the things that you remember, Lena, is about a planet by the name of 8. 8 is a planet in the Typhoon system that was inhabited by a whole bunch of human colonists a long while ago. However, things on that planet kind of devolved into a ton of infighting. So there's two big things we're going to talk about. One, it devolved into a whole ton of infighting to the point where eventually they more or less just said, fuck off, Alliance. We are no longer a part of the Alliance. We are our own standalone system that is completely separate from you. We run ourselves. Since that's happened, the planet has fallen into tons of civil wars, infighting, and stuff like that happens there. And the Alliance stopped intervening a couple of decades ago. Stopped intervening and trying to stop the fighting, stopped intervening and trying to govern it. They just more or less go, fuck off, we don't care. It currently goes by the name of 8, and the Citadel itself refers to the planet by the name of 8, because that was the last given name to it when the Alliance currently controlled it. However, the name of the planet itself has changed a ton of times. Has changed so many times since the Alliance took off, based off of who was controlling the planet at the time, how much influence they had, what their feeling was at the moment. So the actual name there has changed. The other big important detail about 8 is that it has 2 moons that orbit it. But one of its moons, it has a degrading orbit that is projected to have a cataclysmic cataclysmic clash, like smashing into collision with the planet sometime in the next 2 centuries. When I say sometime, we mean anywhere between about a decade from now and 200 years from now. Maybe a little bit more. Nobody knows exactly when because it's degrading at a rate that is ever changing. It's fluctuating because of the exponential rate at which it's degrading, but then kind of like the sun that's nearby and it's the planet itself, gravity will kind of change that. And despite how incredibly advanced all the mathematics and algorithms people have for plotting these things, it's too fluid right now for people to accurately predict when it's going to happen. So despite the fact that like a lot of people have like left there because 1, the wars, and 2, the fact that the planet's going to blow up eventually, it's also going to it's also like it's so rich in like nutrients, in minerals and alloys or whatever, that tons of people are still like going there like, oh well, despite all these bad things, we're going to send people in to mine out all the goods we can and just get rid of it as quickly as we can. Some companies come in here and they just take out any biological material because this is a planet that is otherwise considered like a I can't remember the name of it at the top of my head right now, but otherwise considered like a haven,
Garden world.
A garden world. Thank you so much, Ollie. Is considered a garden world. I mean, its bacteria is perfect for bringing Earth plants here. Its atmosphere is perfect for bringing Earth livestock here, and so on and so forth. Almost all the meat here is eligible to be eaten. The vegetation here is eligible. The fauna and flora are good for humans to eat. It's considered a garden world. So there are companies that are coming here and grabbing stuff and selling it off, and you know this information. So when he says, does anybody here know about the Typhoon system? I imagine your hand kind of goes up, as well as 2 or 3 others. And he goes, good, you can fill in everybody else afterwards. So my concern here is that whatever these Batarians were working on, they are going to be on this planet, on the planet of 8. And they're going to be using that as their base of operations. This is a predominantly human planet, so the presence of Batarians would certainly stand out. But I suppose an even greater concern of mine is they're on a different one of the planets there. We know not too terribly much about the physiology of the Batarians. I know that their home planet is very similar to Earth in size, but has a slightly lesser gravity and slightly lesser atmospheric pressure. So that being said, they are going to need similar situations to the ones that we have to live on. Maybe it'll be 8, maybe otherwise. When we get there, we're going to have to start doing our research, scan around, and see what it is that we can find, where it is that they are. Maybe they don't have a base of operations here. Maybe that was the entire crew. At request of the Vorsha, and though I don't agree with this decision, the Alliance Council wants to build their their alliances with these other races. The one put at point on this one is actually going to be Rockwell here. That's right. Petty Officer 3rd Class Rockwell will be running point on this one under my command. So when he says to investigate a location, I will tell you to investigate that location. When he says to fly the ship here, I will tell you to fly the ship there. That is how it's going to go. He is going to make very heavy suggestions, and generally speaking, we will follow suit with those suggestions. He is running point on these, but understand this is still my ship. Does everybody understand this? And there's a combinations of Uras and Hazaz amongst the crew. All right, do we have any questions about what it is that we're going to be doing here and how it is we're going to be going about it? Then I suppose I turn the floor to you, Rockwell. Anything that you would like to say to the crew before we make our way in? Or do you perhaps need to do a little bit of research for it first?
He wouldn't say much, but he would say, we're here at the request of the Volus. They have been incredibly polite and incredibly trusting, and although I know many of you are not fond of the concept of alien life, I also am not. And he actually would look at Carmine, because I imagine they would have at least had small talk at some point about this. I was not, but these people have been generous to us, and we are helping them. So if we do need to have conversations with them, do make sure to be polite. It's not hard, and may potentially save our race from a war with something that we could not handle.
Inspiring. All right, everybody to your posts, and we'll be awaiting further suggestions from him. And everybody kind of like gets up and makes their way out of the room. Whenever do the three of you hang back a little bit, or do all of you kind of filter out as well?
I would filter out.
I'd probably have a look to see if I could like grab Lena's shoulder or something to like. So, Typhoon then. Apparently you know about it.
Yeah, I relay some of that information, all that information, rather than just repeating it. They did hear it. I tell them that that's what I learned when I was in Alliance training. But other than that, I've never actually been to the place. Just
Sounds
keep
like
a
an odd
fucking
place
eye
to
out.
colonize if there's a moon about to smack into it. Okay.
I'm
Thanks
inclined
for the
to agree.
intel.
You're welcome.
Okay. So, did you say you hang back as well, Ollie?
I noticed they hang back, but if there's nothing to say,
They're barely hanging back. They're like amongst the last few to leave, but they're having a conversation amongst each other as they're going. They're not really like hanging there and waiting for you. Like,
Does Rockwell know this? What I've just told Carmine? You didn't
He's
raise
probably
your
about to go
hand.
Google it. Doesn't really mind.
I mean, I didn't see him raise his hand. If he wants to know, he can just ask you, right?
Yep, like you did.
Yeah. Gonna do a Google. It'll be fine.
okay.
This is why I get along with Carmine.
So, did you hang back
It's like
with?
looks at you, acknowledges you, nods you, and then wanders up.
Did you hang?
Basically, the length of it.
Did you hang back with Daxton? Or no? Okay. So you make your way out as well. Perfect. Last bits of information I'm going to give you guys. So this planet's average temperature is about 70 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 20 degrees Celsius, just over 20 degrees Celsius. That's the average temperature across the planet, which is nice. The gravity is 0.88 of Earth's gravity, so it's just underneath Earth's gravity. The atmospheric pressure is 0.6, so that is like living on a halfway up a mountain to top of a mountain of Earth. So it's one of those things where if you guys don't have to wear your suits, but you can run out of breath rather easily if you're not acclimated to that kind of light pressure. Inside the Stalingrad, you guys are generally accustomed to like 1.1 atmospheric pressures inside the Stalingrad, so it's slightly more than Earth's atmosphere generally. And their day lengths or whatever just over Earth's. It's very, very similar to Earth in a lot of ways, just a little bit lighter, a little bit cooler, a little bit less pressure, a little bit less gravity. Okay, so those are the details you're able to get from there. And you make your way jumping through the Mass Effect relays and everything to the Typhoon system itself. Now, in the Typhoon system, there are more than... Oops, didn't mean to press it, but that's fine. There are 4 planets in its entirety. There's 8, which we've already talked about, which is the second planet from the star. The other ones worth noting are it's Akinda, which is the first planet, Moros, which is the third planet, and Ponos, which is the fourth. Doing some quick scans of those planets, trying to find information out, Ollie. Do you want to do me a favor and roll for me? It's going to be a no intelligence or a perception intelligence check to see what you know.
Perception, weirdly enough.
Is better for you?
Doing some scans, doing some beat boops, kind of
Boopity
thing.
boops.
You know.
Okay,
Yeah.
that is a beautiful perception check with a 12. One of the things that you're going to know is that Kinda is very similar to like a hot Jupiter. So imagine Jupiter, but hotter.
Great.
It's the first planet from the star, so the likelihood of them being there is rather slim, right?
Yeah, I mean, unless there's a space station around it, which is unlikely. What about the other 2?
So the fourth planet from the star, which is Ponos, that is a hydrogen-helium gas giant. So by being a gas one, that means there's really not a surface that you could traverse. So it's not exactly something that you can. It's certainly something you can mine things off of, but nothing that's you can easily walk on.
Again, space stations maybe, but probably not in the middle of nowhere.
No space stations here, exactly. Not in Typhoon. There are no space stations. And then there's Moros. Moros is a small rock planet. It's the third rock from the sun. So that one is, the thing about this one is its gravity is 0.35 that of Earth. It is a very light gravity. Its temperature is negative 73 Celsius, so it's cold as shitballs. Its atmospheric pressure is only 0.16, so like we're talking upper Earth atmosphere. Atmospheric pressure, barely any pressure there. It has longer days or whatever because it's much further out. So it's not really livable for anybody. You have to live inside domes and everything that are there.
Bones or bunkers or something. Didn't they say that the Batarians aren't on 8, right?
They're what?
Or what? Didn't they say that the Batarians aren't on planet 8, but they are on a different planet? Or
No. Actually, they said they don't know. He was kind of like...
Oh, okay. Because I was
yeah.
assuming that it was like...
He was kind of saying the Batarians would probably stand out there.
Gas giant, cold fuck world.
Yep.
Beautiful garden world.
Yep.
So I really wonder where I would like to hide my criminal enterprise.
So yeah, right. I know, huh? So the important thing to know about that garden world is actually even more of a garden world for Batarians than it is for humans. It's actually almost identical to theirs. So about the rest of the details about Moros, because there's some more stuff about it. Could you roll me a no check? But this is going to be a no. You can actually do this with a wisdom if you're searching, or a intelligence if you already know it. Man, my internet is going up and down because of the storm nearby.
7.
Okay, so and what did you do? What check did you use?
That was intelligence.
Intelligence. So, unfortunately, you don't really know anything about Moros, just like you didn't know anything about 8. Do you intend to speak to the rest of your crew about this?
I would briefly mention I would make it public access, the base scans on the planets. Obviously, this isn't Star Trek. We can't scan for life signs, but I would say, like, clearly we need to go to planet 8. Maybe a higher scrutiny scan of Monos, because there could be something there, like under the snow. That's definitely plausible, but that's kind of going off on a limb, right? It's probably more sensible to just go to 8. He would actually be like straight asking this. I mean, it'd be a little bit more Rockwell-y, but he would be like, probably going to 8.
So he tells you these details. You guys are able to make your no checks about Moros, though. Carmine, because you had failed before, I'm going to give you a -1 because you already didn't know stuff. And because you already succeeded so well, Rookie, I'm going to give you a +1.
Okay, this is intelligence, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Wow, you rolled shit.
I know nothing.
Let's see.
However, Carmine, on the other hand, knows. Yeah, look at that, 10. Gorgeous. So actually, you remember, like, after she told you that information about the planet, you went and did a little bit of research yourself between that then and now and that gap of time. And so you're like, okay, she already knows about 8, and you're kind of like, I imagine your character, because you're not like super into research in general. You almost went down like when you're on YouTube and you just keep clicking all these random thumbnails, and so you did a little like outside research as well. Just kind of like more peripheral research instead of necessarily in-depth research. And you find out Moros is a small rock planet, which we already discovered, nitrogen, carbon, yeah. But the interesting thing is, by law of 8, as it currently exists, every city-state on 8 actually has exploitation rights on the planet of Moros to gather the goods that are there, the minerals and whatnot that are there. So every city-state has the rights to come up here. However, out of those, generally speaking, only the 3 largest city-states off of 8 have like permanent compounds here where they're always mining and drilling and trying to get materials. But one more little tidbit that you're able to find out is that on Moros, there actually is a small amount of element 0 that can be found here, but it's sporadic and it's hard to find. But there's a small amount of element 0 that can be found on this this area as well. So, not survivable without breathing masks and suits and whatnot, but certainly traversable. And there are people that permanently live here. Well, permanent facilities here.
All right. I'd probably pass that info on to Rockwell at some point, just being like, "Here, you might be able to use this."
Well, I would ask Carmine back. Is giving us a valuable lead? Do you think?
It's something to keep in mind.
First upon Batarians.
It doesn't seem like they would go and hang out there for fun or anything, but this could be a backup location if we ever run out of like primary leads to follow.
It wouldn't be surprising if they had a backup base.
Yeah, it would make sense because it's the unexpected thing to do.
We chased them there. That's probably what we're gonna do. Okay, great. So let's go to Planet 8.
So, you guys make your way to Planet 8, and then as you are going to descend, and you go and speak to the captain and inform him that this is where you're going, give him your reasoning. You can either speak to him in person, or you can send it to him in a report. I imagine the report. And
I'd actually would speak in person.
Okay, certainly.
Show him the readouts and stuff.
And he would agree with your decision making. He'd give you permission for all that. But he would say, "Have you been doing much research on 8? Are you familiar with the different city states that are there?"
No, although my crew are.
All right, well, make sure that you yourself are well informed, because you're going to be making these decisions. My question is, do you know where it is that you want to land? So we can't just land, I suppose we could just land the ship on the outskirts of the planet, of one of these city-states, and hoof our way into one. However, people are eventually going to know that there's an Alliance vessel here, and it's not going to be smiled upon. Perhaps we should make nicey nice with one of the city-states and land there.
Absolutely. I'm going to refer to Ward about this. She knows most about the Planet city-states, and do some research of my own. And before I come back to you.
Well, we're gonna start. We're gonna set our course over towards 8 now. You need to tell me in advance where it is that we're gonna be settling, because we're gonna have to make contact with them. I suppose send Ward into here.
Yep. Beep boop boop beep beep.
And so Ward makes her way in, and he has to go off and hit the books because he's a big dummy. And so so he makes it. So you go making your way in. And he's like, what is it, Lance Corporal? Yeah. Lance Corporal Ward, I don't think we've ever had the opportunity to speak face to face.
No, not yet.
At ease. You are welcome to tell me what it is that you know about the planet, or better yet, where it is that you think is the best place for us to land our vessel of the city-states. Okay, so what I need you to do is roll for me one more knowledge check because of prior successes with a +2, because it's directly on the planet itself with 8. Lore 10, beautiful. So no, that's perfectly fine. What you're able to find out is that there are 3 primary city-states, as we've discussed already with Carmine. Yeah. One of them is known to be kind of like the nuclear option. They're the ones that are not afraid to use old technology, nuclear weapons, to keep other people at bay. They have nuclear weapons, they have nuclear technology, they tote it all the time because they don't give a fuck about the survivability of the planet. They give a fuck about making lots of money and leaving before the planet blows up. So there's one option, if you care to write these down. There's it's the city-state is called the Great Before.
Yep.
And it's that's the nuclear option. There's another city-state that's also known for being very, very, very warlike. They have incredible ground troops. They have very well-trained soldiers and whatnot. Probably the best ground soldiers that are there. This city-state, while being very warlike, they veer away from using nuclear options. They've never mentioned tote of it before on the extranet, intranet, whatever. And the name of the city-state is Tom.
Tom.
And then there is a... What's the matter, Holly?
Chat actually was like, are they going to go visit Tom? And I'm like, haha, that would be funny, wouldn't it? And then you're like, there literally is a place called Tom.
And then there is a
crazy
third city-state, And one of the city-states, so this one is actually, it tries to avoid all combat as much as possible, and is literally the best one for mining materials and gaining materials. They also happen to be the largest city-state of all of them. They try not to be warlike, but the problem is, because they have the best technology for mining and all that stuff, they're always being attacked by everybody else and always taking the biggest hits from the other two city-states. They've actually suffered a nuclear warhead at one of their outposts before, and so they are not... Yeah, they're not very happy. They've had to do the best they can to clean out the citizens that survived of the damages they've suffered. So, unfortunately, when you're dealing with nuclear material, Metagel isn't very helpful. And the name of this city-state's actually named after one of the older industries that's really, really trying to stay. The reason why they're here is because they're failing as an industry in general, and this is their only way to keep their leg up. And so it's the Sebastian Industries. Okay. And those are the three major city-states. Other than that, there's a whole bunch of tiny ones that you can easily make your way to, whose names have changed tons of times. So, what do you say to the captain?
Okay, so I tell him that about them three options, and I say honestly, my personal opinion is, whilst a lot of people might want to go for Sebastian Industries, because it's so large and because it's so easily attacked, I feel like it might be in focus of the other two. People might be watching it, and our arrival might be more obvious. So I'm thinking maybe we can attempt Tom, because going for the Great Before is just a bad idea. If they're that aggressive, I think that it might be just too risky. Whereas trying to scare away into Tom might be a bit sneakier.
It's a pretty solid logic there, Ward. It's I will admit that I myself was leaning towards the idea of going to the Sebastian Industries, because then we don't necessarily have to deal with the combative nature of the other two. We don't have to worry about them shooting us down. However, it might draw too much attention of those other two, assuming that they are now begging for Alliance aid and perhaps making a deal with us. Very well. We'll have to head to Tom then. Speak with Rockwell about this and confirm. I know he deferred to you. Confirm that's what he wants, and we'll have the coordinates set in and we'll head that way.
Affirmative.
Is there anything else?
No, thank you.
And dismissed.